Hey Simlies, it's Deligracy here, and I'm doing a speed build today of my childhood home. This is the house in real life I grew up in from about the age of a toddler to just before I started high school. I was there for quite a while, and because it was a while ago, I'm not sure how correct I'm actually, like how close to the real home this is going to be. So I'm going to tell my parents to watch this and see what they think, if I was completely off with it or if I actually got some of it right. That's definitely going to be very interesting. I did a CAS of my family. You can see us standing over there on the footpath, and my dad's on the left there. I've made him as a sim, and really, this house was in the kind of environment that was very green, very bushy, lots of gum trees, beautiful fresh air, and lots of room to run around in. So I feel very, very lucky to have grown up in such a beautiful suburb and away from a lot of busyness. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, the house really is kind of a mix of contemporary and traditional design. My dad and mum designed it themselves, and my dad actually built it. He did everything apart from the more specialized things, like we had to get an electrician in and a plumber in, but he did all of the building, which is pretty cool because I don't think there's many people who have the opportunity to not only design a home to live in, but also get to build it themselves and actually have the skills to do so. I thought that was really, really awesome. But because The Sims 4 doesn't have terrain tools, unfortunately, the house, which was built on quite a slope, isn't really quite correct in how it starts and finishes. So the back of the house was actually higher than the lower part. So the front part of the house closest to the footpath it was up on a foundation, but by the time the house worked its way to the back of the property, it was on flat ground. So there wasn't actually stairs at the back of the house as well. There was only just like one step to get down off the decking. So anyways, I am so looking forward to hearing what my parents think of this. I just don't know if they're going to say you were so way off or if I actually was quite close to it, because in my memory, I've started drawing out the rooms kind of how I remember them, the orientation of the house. And then in the end, when I did the roofing, it actually kind of came out how I remember the exterior to be. So that's a good sign, I think. And this house looks huge. Like really, really big in The Sims. This is on a big sim property. So I feel like because, when you're a kid, everything seems so much bigger, that the house probably wasn't nearly this big. I don't know. I doubt it. I really doubt it. But I guess we'll see. I'll let you guys know how correct I got it. But anyways, I am building this house for an LP. I'm going to be simming my life, so telling parts of my life story, I suppose, playing my family as Sims, making my friends, and showing that kind of storyline, which is going to be quite a hoot and a half, I think. And the staircase we put in a timber staircase and a balustrade. And my parents actually got the staircase and balustrade made by a woodworker friend who was really, really talented. So that's pretty amazing. Apparently it was a beautiful staircase. They still go on about their staircase, and I remember it being really cool. What I used to do was stand at the very top of the staircase, and I collected Beanie Kids, beanie toys. They were bears that had beans in them. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of them, but Beanie Kids had names and different themes for every bear, and I collected so many that I definitely don't think I was a spoilt child. I wasn't bought lots of things, but all I wanted was Beanie Kids. So every birthday I'd ask for Beanie Kids, Christmases for years, and I'd save up all of my pocket money and buy Beanie Kids. So I ended up having over 100, I think, of these Beanie Kids, and one of my favorite things would be to play teacher with them. So I'd lay out all of my novels or chapter books on the floor in a row, and they would actually be the Beanie Kids desks, and I would put the Beanie Kids behind them, and then I would pretend to teach them things I'd learnt at school, like basic maths and stuff. And I'd get them to do little worksheets and things. So that's what I love to do in my bedroom, which you guys will see soon. But in this speed build, this is just going to be the first half. I would have liked to do the whole thing, but I work full time, so I work every day. So I just have to find time after work to do speed builds and also to do the Let's Plays and everything else. So I will release the second part as soon as I get to finish this house, and I didn't want to rush it because it's quite a special and nostalgic build for me. So I'll hopefully finish it soon. So anyways, this will at least introduce you guys to the exterior of the house. Once we've got the entire thing finished, I'll upload it to the gallery for you guys to download if you'd like to do so, which is kind of weird because if you guys have your Sims living in my house that I grew up in, that's so weird. That's cool though. And this front room of the house, I think it was still under construction, or it was a guest room when I was younger, but then my sister eventually ended up moving into it, and that narrow room on the side is actually a bathroom, and my sister painted with her friend and her friend's mum this really, really cool mural on the wall. It was actually awesome because the friend's mum was a really good artist, or is a great artist, so that was pretty awesome. And the other narrow room is a toilet, and then the double doors is a wardrobe, and then a bathroom. So I think altogether this house has 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, 2 of them being en suites and 1 being a main bathroom. And this little section here is where bookshelves went, and then there was a small fireplace in the corner, not one of these bigger royal ones. It was like I've forgotten what you call them, but one of those kind of metal smaller fireplaces that didn't actually sit against the wall. They kind of sit out from the wall, I think. But anyways, because we're obviously restricted in The Sims, we can only do so much. Just here over the balustrade, you could see downstairs into the room below, and there was a small upstairs lounge room. And this house actually had a couple of half walls too, so I was pretty excited to be able to use those. But I used to, going back to my Beanie Kids story, I used to tie a rope around the neck of my Beanie Kids, and while standing on just behind the top balustrade, I would pretend that they were doing a circus act or being gymnasts, and I would throw the rope with all my might over that balustrade downstairs as if they're on a ride or something, and then scoop them up again and flip them back. And I just thought it was the best thing ever. So that's another fun memory. I used to also play a game with my sister where we would go behind the staircase on the downstairs level, and we'd kind of do monkey bars along the staircase, but my dad used to tell us it was a bit dangerous, so I was only allowed to go so far. We also once found a snake in the backyard. That was scary. I'm scared of snakes. I really don't like snakes. I mean, I can be calm around snakes. I have run into snakes before, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of snakes or millipedes. And I'm fine with spiders. Spiders are cool, or really any other bugs are cool, but I just don't like things that are long with no legs, or things that are long with heaps and heaps and heaps of legs. 6 legs is fine. Any more than like 8 legs, I'm just like, no. Just weird, because I don't understand how they move. How can they coordinate so many legs? It's just weird, let alone no legs. It's messed up if you ask me. But anyways, we're putting in lots and lots of trees. We had a water tank out the back, and that meant that we got to drink rainwater while growing up, which is pretty cool. So the trees are all around the house, and then we had a front yard, which I'm not sure if it was a messy front yard or... No, actually, I think it was okay. I think it was more natural plants that were like native plants that we grew. So they didn't need to be kept. Maybe they were more wild kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm putting in a lot of the ferns that came from the Outdoors Retreat stuff pack, and also the big tall reedy things because I felt like they looked a little bit more Australian perhaps and kind of reminded me more of home. Also the dark green trees. We don't have any gum trees in the game, so I couldn't really use those. For those of you who, gum trees are all over the world now, of course, just as civilization has grown and different countries and nations have moved to different countries and nations, we've obviously taken lots of plants and vegetables and fruits and all of that stuff with us to other countries. So gum trees, when I was in California, there were gum trees there and I was like, what? It's like home. So that was pretty funny. Gum trees smell really good, by the way, but I'm sure they're all around the world. So a lot of you guys probably have gum trees near you, even though I'm pretty sure they originated in Australia. It's a very Australian thing. So anyways, we're just putting in lots of trees around the place and lots of plants. One of the things I remember whilst growing up was that there was always lots and lots of lavender. I love lavender. I love the smell of it. So that was kind of fun to include. And then we had vintage windows. Not vintage windows. They were made, I think they were vintage windows. I think they had metal frames, like steel metal frames. So they were quite industrial looking and they were secondhand. I think my dad or mum had kind of salvaged them from a house that got knocked down or something along those lines and then recycled them. A lot of the artwork in the house and all of the furniture in the house was quite unique. So there wasn't really anything in the game that suits the furniture or really matches the furniture in The Sims. So for instance, we had a lovely big wooden dining table that the tabletop was made. I'm not sure where we got the frame from, but the tabletop was made by the same guy who did the staircase in a beautiful light wood or light timber, but a very, very heavy table. And I've always said to my mum that I shotgun the table. And now my sister's like, I shotgun the table. And that's like really awful to plan like that because that's just icky. But basically, the moral of the story is that I love the dining table. It's sick. It's awesome. But anyways, we're just doing a little bit of roofing here. The house was quite unique and angular in a lot of ways from memory, and it's just impossible for me to remember exactly how it was, but hopefully it's kind of along the lines of how it was. But yeah, I think it's coming together all right. A lot of the timber, I can't quite recall if the timber was originally green, but I'm pretty sure it's grey now and there was a green roof. So that's why I've made the timber grey on the outside of the house. We're going to end up putting it on in a second and then the roof is going to be green. And my dad used to do a lot of his handiwork and welding just on the right-hand side of the house. But I remember it being undercover. So I've obviously got some of the scale wrong because I think that room that's overhanging would have come out a little bit more. And so that's not quite right. But oh well, you get the idea. And this area with the diagonal wall was the study, and I'm pretty sure there was a diagonal window in there. At least that's what I kind of remember. I'm not sure how I'm going to do the trapdoor in the wall between mine and my sister's rooms. I was thinking of maybe using the cube light, so maybe I might do that. And of course, these big windows represent the steel windows, even though they had 4 separations in the window frame. You get the general gist. The kitchen is really hard for me to remember, but I know we had timber benches. But I also kind of recall us having white cupboards. So what I tried to do is do a little bit of a mix of them. That was pretty much the color of the benches, how I remember it. And I'm pretty sure we had a half wall just as you walked in the door there, so you could kind of peep over into the kitchen. But of course, as a child, it looked really, really tall to me. So I could never actually see over it. And in this kitchen, something pretty bad happened to me. I was making a boat for some of my toys out of a strawberry punnet, and I accidentally stabbed myself with a really big knife when I was 5 years old because I wanted to cut through the plastic and my hand was underneath it. So my dad had to rush me to emergency and pardon me, And apparently my sister came home from school. My mum wasn't home. Dad had taken me out, obviously, to get stitched up and whatever needed to be done. And she came home to a complete horror scene of a knife and blood. And the poor girl had no idea where we were. So that wasn't the nicest thing. But I was fine in the end. I just needed a few stitches. And Mum ended up coming home soon after. So it was all going to be fine. And this right here is the pantry. But anyways, as I said, I'm going to leave the furnishing until the next part so I can actually spend more quality time on it rather than rushing it all. But anyways, I hope this insight into my upbringing might be a little bit interesting for some of you guys, especially seeming you live in all different kinds of places in this big world we live in. So it's probably very different. Anyways, I hope you're having a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world, and I'll speak to you soon.